When you play the system with the most arcade hits...
Whoa! Yeah! Whoa, that was exciting, and that's how it feels to play Nintendo's Excitebike only on the Nintendo NES. Excitebike begins with the letter E, and that just happens to be part of my series Nintendo NES from A to Zelda, and this is letter E, once again for Excitebike. Yeah!
The Nintendo Entertainment System.
Your parents help you look it up.
We're starting out with the review this time around. We're going to check out everything there is to know and learn and love and play with some fun on Excitebike. Of the nearly 700 Nintendo NES games, there is actually only 4 that begin with the letter E, so not too tough of a choice here today. I definitely think the most worthy and important game to choose is Nintendo's own game, Excitebike. Excitebike is a motocross-style motorcycle racing game for the NES. It's a very popular and early black box game. I believe this is one of those must-have or at least must-play NES games. Excitebike also led into its own series, including sequel games on the N64 and Nintendo Wii, and is referenced in games such as Mario Maker and Mario Kart 8. So what is Excitebike and what makes it awesome? Excitebike is a motorcycle racing game. You have 2 modes of main gameplay. In Mode A, you are racing against the clock, no computer opponents. In Mode B, you race against other computer-controlled opponents. The 2 modes vary in difficulty from one another as the other drivers can get in the way and knock you down and pose a great challenge overall. Both game modes A and B have 5 levels, 5 racetracks to compete in. While this might not seem like much compared to today's racing games, this game set the foundation for later video games, yet holds up in a retro arcade style due to its distinct and charming style and presentation and overall fun. The gameplay is simple but can take time to master. You are in a side-scrolling 2D setting. You don't need to rely on steering as much in this game, as pressing up or down will shift you between track spaces on the road. When you play the game of Excitebike, you are concentrating more on your speed. B button makes you go fast and A is a basic speed. But watch out, you have to keep an eye on the engine temperature meter. If it fills up, your engine overheats, taking you out of the race for a moment, which can really mess things up. Will you risk a breakdown just to drive faster? You can drive over aerospaces on the racetrack to cool down your temperature briefly. Another awesome thing about Excitebike is the jump controls. There are bumps, hills, and large jump sections of the racetrack to drive over. Once in the air, you have control over your bike's position. You must angle the bike to land flat or you could risk a wipeout. You can also use this control to make the bike jump higher or get further jump distance. This is my favorite part of Excitebike, as going over every jump makes you want to try to go higher and further. It's a fun and unique part of this game. The game's graphics are notable too. Everything looks great visually, and it's one of the more iconic black box NES games. The style is simple but works, and I love the animation while crossing the finish line with that wheelie trick. Cool. Okay, so you've done the 5 A mode time races, and you've played the 5 competitive races. Now what? It's time for Mode 3, the design feature. Yeah, that's right, you can create your own playable racetracks. With a very detailed track editor, you can place any type of jump or feature on the racetrack layout. It's a very easy to use designer too. You can set your lap number and then play on the track using either game mode A or B. It's so much fun and adds much replay value to this otherwise short, but still fun, game. There is one odd part of the game, something left in from the Famicom edition. The Save Track Design feature. The Save Track Design feature does not work. In Japan, the Famicom edition, you could save to floppy disks and or cassettes. It was left in on the NES version but cannot be used. The game's English manual states that the save and load menu selections are not operable in this game. They have been programmed in for potential product developments. So there you have it, Excitebike. I can't recommend this one enough. It's a fun game. I think anyone who loves video games can enjoy it. It has nice visuals and game design, plus it has an arcade game style, and that classic Nintendo appeal. Check it out sometime. What's up everybody? That was it for the review part of the video. Now we're jumping in with a Let's Play section where you get some direct gameplay of me playing Excitebike. So let's jump in with Selection A, and then we'll try a little bit of Selection B, which from the review, you know what those are all about. So selection A, we've got all 5 tracks. I'll just start with number 1. And here we go. A button is your normal speed, which we're going to start out pretty quick here. There we go. And then we've got the B button for the fast. So let's rev this up. Vroom! I love that jumping. Every time I play this, it's so much fun to go over these jumps. I wasn't kidding in the review. It's a lot of fun to go over jumps in this game. And that was a close one too, but sometimes you have to go actually, you make sure you're going full speed to go over some of these jumps and actually land safely across the other side. Like, so that one, I barely made it, I guess, onto the dirt, because if you go on the grass, it slows you down a bit. There's little things like that that I didn't mention in the review. They're just not really that, like, important to talk about in a review sense. Sometimes it's better just to keep things short, I've noticed, throughout reviews, and we just got an overheat, so... when you crash, you can button mash A or B to speed up your time to get back to your bike, but when you're overheated, I think you just gotta wait. It seems like you just gotta wait. And then those little arrow spaces will cool you down, of course. Yeah, there's little things that, like, I didn't mention in the review at all. Like, you can actually pop a wheelie whenever you want, not just on the finishing line, or not just when you cross the goal. But, yeah, you can pop a wheelie whenever you want. There's parts on the ground that are, like, darker, which will slow you down, like that mud. So there's a mud effect. There's, a couple other things that I just didn't really talk about in the review part that are something that you'll notice immediately while you play, but they're not that notable, I guess. They're just kind of really basic racing game elements, and stuff like that. So we're going to go on to this level, then we're going to check out some of the competitive racing and some other drivers. And this is going to be a shorter video than my past few, because it's not an RPG, it's not a huge platformer epic like Castlevania, and it's there's no other games in this series on the NES directly, so it's not like there's too much to talk about outside of it. Although I do want to point out the sequels are actually really good. The one on N64, Excitebike 64, actually includes this as an unlockable bonus game, so you get both games with it. So if you have an N64, just get Excitebike 64, don't worry about this one, because it's included. And then you've got Excite Truck on the Nintendo Wii, which is like, it's kind of weird, because you use trucks, there's no motorcycles in that one. But it has the same gameplay mechanics of, like, the jumping, and some of the things like the cooldown, that's all in it. And it's really fun. It's not quite the same experience, but back when the Nintendo Wii first launched, that was my top played game, that and Twilight Princess, of course. But if you remember back in the day, in 2006. And then you've got Excite Bots, which is like a Transformers-styled Excitebike, and I didn't play that one for the Wii, but it looked really cool. And there was another one that I mentioned in the review segment that was a Nintendo Wii Excitebike game, and it was like a WiiWare download, so I don't have that. I don't have access to it either. And I got first. But it was more like this one, but I think you can play online, and it has some 3D graphics, but they were similarly styled to the NES art style. Now, if I could find a way to get back to the main menu, I would show you the other mode that I wanted to show you, but maybe we'll just stick with this mode, because I don't know of a solid way to get back to the main menu. I can try hard reset? No, or soft reset, or whatever it's called. By pushing buttons on the controller, it didn't work. And if I get up, it'll mess all the recording up. On my recorder, it turns off when you reset the NES. It's like, oh, okay. That's not really that handy. They're overheating. Now, I'm not really focusing too much on the gameplay, but I'm gonna have to jump into the gameplay pretty quick here. We did get a first last time. It's hard to keep an eye on that temperature gauge. Now, on the temperature gauge, oh no, we're falling down the hill, all the way down slowly. Okay, you can button mash to go fast. The temperature gauge never really gets to like 0. It just kind of, it kind of does if you get those arrows like that, but you're not getting the arrows all the time, so it never really gets to 0. Even when you're pressing the A button, which is your normal speed. Well, that was cool, double jump. And when you're doing your normal speed, it stays at about half point. So when you're using the B button to use the really fast speeds, it'll fill up pretty quickly because it starts pretty much from the middle. That's cool. I love that. Yeah! Wheelie. It's awesome. It's rad. It's exciting. It's Excitebike! And I guess for that, we're just going to leave it off here. I mean, I could go on all day playing this all day. I probably will play this some more today. Honestly, it's a lot of fun, and I had a lot of fun playing it for the review. It's a short game, but it's a lot of fun. So every time you pick it up, you're going to want to keep playing it. So I've said pretty much everything there is I can possibly say about the game Excitebike, and it's a great example of a Nintendo NES classic. It's a very fun game. I believe that everyone that likes video games should at least give this one a try. It's something anyone can pick up and play immediately and still have fun with. It's a really great racing game. It has some customization options with the design mode, and it's just a lot of fun. It has some charm to it. That's Excitebike for the Nintendo NES on Happy Bird Games' Nintendo NES from A to Zelda. Find out what letter F is next time on Happy Bird Games.
Now you're playing with power.